The purpose of an arraignment is to formally advise the defendant as to the charges that have been filed against the defendant by the district attorney's office or the attorney general's office. This is done in a paper document called an information. In the information, the charges that have been filed and the time at which the crime occurred is listed, so the defendant is on notice of the charges. The defendant enters a formal plea of guilty or not guilty. The defendant is advised of his or her pretrial rights, and the defendant is also notified as to what the defendant's trial date is. When a defendant actually pleads guilty, there's a process that's followed to make sure that the defendant understands what the defendant is doing. So that's called a colloquy. And during that process, there's questions that are asked of the defendant to make sure that the defendant understands the rights that are being given up. The time between arraignment and trial is different in different counties. Here in Bucks County, the time is usually approximately 30 days. What really determines when a trial takes place is the fact that a defendant has a right to a speedy trial. Therefore, by rule, if a defendant is out on the street and is not in jail, the defendant has to be brought to trial within 365 days of the date the complaint is filed. If the defendant is in jail, then the Commonwealth has 180 days to bring the defendant to trial.